My boyfriend has a longtime female friend who's clearly into him and I don't know what to do. This is gonna sound like the typical insecure girlfriend, but I promise it's not like that. My boyfriend and I have been together for over 6 months and he's really great. He has a friend that he's had for years who is a girl. Normally, I'm not the type to be all like, you're not allowed to hang out with a single girl alone, but I'm considering telling my boyfriend that he's not allowed to hang out with this girl alone. This girl is obviously so into him and she definitely wants me to know she's coming for him. She keeps saying stuff like, you don't know him like I do yet. Or, we used to go to that place together all the time long before you guys started dating. She also had cute pet names for him and I didn't like it, and as soon as I heard it, I told my boyfriend I didn't like it and he made her stop. Oh my gosh, Josh, remember when we went on a hike, just the two of us? That was the best day. I asked her straight up if she was into him and her response pissed me off. She was like, I know it's intimidating how close he and I are, but don't worry, you're the girlfriend, I'm just a friend, right? With a smug smile on her face. I got so mad, but I couldn't talk to my boyfriend about it. I want to tell him to cut her out of his life so bad, but I don't know if I can do that. My boyfriend's dad passed away 2 years ago with a heart condition. He told me that his dad was his best friend growing up, so it hit him really hard. That's why he says she's like a sister to him. That's why I don't know what to do. I already asked him to set boundaries, like she can't text late at night or come over to his place unannounced all the time and not interrupting our alone time. He was the only family my boyfriend had. Apparently, this girl really helped him get through it. She apparently was there for him throughout the whole thing. My boyfriend doesn't realize that she's into him, and I kind of don't blame him on that because all of her flirts are subtle enough that he doesn't realize, but enough to get me riled up. I know my boyfriend isn't into her at all and he's completely friend-zoned her, but it's still so frustrating. I hate to admit it, but she's so good at getting under my skin and I don't know what to do. I really need some advice. Am I the asshole for insulting my boyfriend's weight in front of his friends? Relevant to the story, my boyfriend is 6 feet tall and about 229 pounds. I am 5'6" and about 120 pounds. From a medical standpoint, my boyfriend is obese and I am fairly normal weight. I really don't mind his weight. He was obese when I met him and that wasn't a problem for me. He has struggled with his weight for many years and constantly talks about wanting to lose weight but never actually diets or exercises. Again, not a huge deal for me, but I try to be supportive and offer him advice or general encouragement whenever he discusses his desire to lose weight. An occasional point of contention between us is that he has a tendency to offer me diet advice. For example, whenever I make a smoothie, he says, you shouldn't drink those things, they're full of hidden calories. Or when I do strength training, he says, you'll just gain weight because you'll put on too much muscle. It's annoying because nutrition and fitness are actually big passions of mine. I'm not an expert by any means, but I've done several courses and I feel I know more than the average person. Plus, I feel that I can demonstrably show that I can manage my own weight. So I don't like that he constantly feels the need to give me advice. This past weekend, he and I met up with a few of his friends at a beer garden. At some point, the guys were talking about their experiences with online dating. My boyfriend said that he'd used Tinder prior to meeting me, but then he deleted it because there were too many desperate fat chicks. He said this in such a disgusted, dismissive way that I genuinely saw red for a second and just blurted out, seriously, you're going to criticize fat chicks? There was a really long, awkward pause, and then one of his friends made a joke and the conversation sort of moved on. But my boyfriend didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. He texted me the next day and to say that it was incredibly rude and disrespectful to comment on his weight, especially in front of his friends. He says he thinks he wants a few days away from me to decide whether or not he can forgive me. I agree it was rude of me to call him out in front of his friends, but I also think what he said was obnoxious and borderline sexist. I've apologized to him, but I'm not sure if I'm genuinely the asshole here. So, am I the asshole? I come from a Muslim family, but I live in the West and my parents are liberal in comparison to my extended family. They've given me a lot of freedom, but there were still a few rules that I knew I should never break. One of them was not getting pregnant before marriage. I never thought it would be the rule I broke because I was never really interested in dating. I had always wanted to wait until marriage, which was partly due to my upbringing and partly because the idea of having lots of casual sex just never appealed to me. This was until I met the man who would later become my husband. Looking back, I behaved totally out of character from the way I normally am. I still have no idea why I did what I did or what my thought process behind any of it was, but I very quickly threw out a lot of the values I held because I enjoyed the attention he was giving me. For 6 months, it was like I was completely intoxicated by him. Then I found out I was pregnant, and reality came crashing down very quickly. I was terrified to tell my family or my husband. My friend suggested that I tell my husband first so I could come up with a game plan before I had to tell my family. I was a crying, ugly mess when I finally did tell my husband. His family is also Muslim, but they make even my parents look super conservative and traditional by comparison, so he didn't seem to understand why I was so upset or scared. When I finally calmed down enough to explain how strict my extended family was, he told me he would speak to my parents for me and he would tell them we were going to get married before anyone found out I was pregnant. I didn't think he was serious because we barely knew each other. He had been very clear that he was only in it for the fun and he was someone who didn't intend to ever commit to one woman. And it wasn't like his family would hate him for having a baby, but he kept insisting that this would be the perfect solution and he wanted to fix things. We've been married for 2 years and things have been going much better than I could have ever hoped for. Our families get along great. My parents really like my husband, which I never thought would happen because my dad wanted to kill him when we first found out. The only issue I have is that my husband likes everything his way, and the fact that he has never been in a relationship where he has had to compromise because they usually did whatever it took to keep him happy and interested has given him a false sense of always being right. Whenever we have a disagreement, he loves to say that being married was his compromise and that he protected my reputation, so the least I could do is give him this one thing. It's never just the one thing though. In our entire marriage, he has only backed down 3 times, and 2 of those times was when I was pregnant and only because my sister gave him trouble for stressing out the pregnant lady. Disagreements aren't the only time he brings up the fact that he saved my reputation. I'm starting to suspect he's getting off on the knowledge that despite having other offers, I had never behaved the way I did with him with anyone else. I lost count of the number of times he brought this up. I feel like I need to figure out a way to stick up for myself and not back down when he tries to use it to get his way, and ideally a way to get him to stop bringing it up altogether. If anyone has any suggestions on how to achieve either of these, I would really appreciate it. Would I be the asshole if I got my younger sister's college scholarship revoked? I am 21 and have been an avid writer my entire life. I have written 3 full-length novels that I'm almost perpetually reworking and a book of short stories all set within the same universe. I've been working on this universe and the characters within it since I was 13 and it is all very personal to me. This week, I found out that my younger sister, who is 17, won a massive scholarship by submitting one of my short stories. I would have been upset regardless of which story she'd taken, but she happened to pick one based around my experience feeling othered because of my autism. My sister is not autistic and has actually bullied me in the past for my autistic traits, and so the fact that this was the story she picked to steal from me almost feels like an attack. In addition to submitting the story, she also had to write about what inspired her to write the piece, and even thinking about what she must have made up makes my blood boil. My parents are currently struggling for money, and this scholarship would pay for almost her entire first year. Both my parents know what my little sister did, and they have both asked me to just let it slide because my sister having the scholarship is helping out our family a lot. They were also worried that the school my sister has been accepted to might find out and rescind her admission. They're both using the excuse that she is just a little girl who made a dumb mistake and that it would be petty of me, an adult, to hurt her future over it. I don't want to hurt my parents financially, and I don't even want to hurt my sister, but I don't want her to have the scholarship. I have all the proof that she's not the real author of the story, but would I be the asshole if I actually sent it in? Should I just let it go for the benefit of my family? My sister thinks I'm being selfish because I'm not putting my own health at risk to give her a baby. So just over 4 months ago, I gave birth to my 4th and last child. It was a high-risk pregnancy and the birth was very difficult. I won't go into detail as it is still hard for me to think about, but me and the baby are both fine. My doctors advised me that it would be best not to have any more kids, and I agreed. My husband just recently had a vasectomy and is now recovering. My sister and her boyfriend have tried planning for a family for a while, but recently found out she can't conceive. She's been very upset about this, and I do feel sorry for her. Our family mentioned adoption or surrogacy for them, and even though my sister's boyfriend was on board, my sister said she needed time to think. Well, a couple of nights ago, my sister called me to tell me her and her boyfriend had agreed on surrogacy. We talked for a bit, and after a while, she brought up the fact how I had done so well in all of my pregnancy and how I must have loved being pregnant. I knew exactly where this was going, and I reminded her how my last pregnancy went. Yet she told me everything was fine now, so what was my issue? I told her that even though I'm around now, I won't put myself through that again, and just because I'm fine now doesn't mean everything will be fine the next time. She then straight up asked me if I will not be her surrogate, and I told her no, I will not. She then started screaming into the phone about how selfish I am and how I need to look out for my sister and help her when she needed it. I told her I would help her with anything else, but I was not putting my own health at risk and potentially leaving my kids without a mom and my husband a widow. My sister went on to continually scream about how selfish I was being and how much of a bitch I was. I hung up on her and I didn't think about it and went to bed. The next morning, my phone was blown up with Facebook messages and calls from friends and family. My sister had gone on Facebook to rant about me. She went on about how I wouldn't let her be a mom and how I had 4 kids of my own. She said I was a selfish sister for not giving her a baby. My mom and a small handful of people are extremely angry at me and call me all sorts of names for being selfish, while my dad, brothers, and several other people are taking my side. I should not have to put my own health at risk for her, and I don't think I'm being selfish at all, but I'm not sure how to fix this.